so, where am I supposed to sit, Russ?
I don't know. That looks good.
We're recording.
We're all here. I'll call this a regular meeting of the Knox County Commission, Tuesday, March 12th, 2024, to order. On our agenda, you'll see that there's supposed to be a presentation. Ms. Berry couldn't make it, so we won't have that presentation, but I will open it up for a public comment period if there's anybody who would like to address the
Hi, my name is Steve Burke. I'm a senior airport planner with McFarland Johnson. We recently submitted a excuse me, statement of qualifications in response to the RFQ that the airport put out, and we're very interested in learning more about the airport. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Seeing that there's no more public comment, we'll go on to the agenda, the consent items. We have a number of items on the consent agenda, which include this very same agenda. Also, minutes of the regular commission meeting from February 13th, departmental reports, warrants, and reserve withdrawals. Do I have a motion?
We approve the consent items?
Consent items have been moved for approval
Second?
and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
Okay, I approve, but I just wanted to ask any of the departments that are here if they wanted to say anything, any standouts in their reports, any comments or anything specifically. Okay. Thanks for the reports.
Action items. Under the action items, we have a series of action items which I don't know if we need to move for them first or if we can table them before they've been moved. But there are a number that I guess aren't quite ready for approval at this point. The first one is an act to approve and authorize the chair to sign and execute the operating agreement between Knox County and Penobscot Island Air at the Knox County Regional Airport. My understanding is this isn't quite ready.
They're still negotiating the terms of the insurance requirements. So we haven't heard back from legal on moving forward with that. So yeah, at this time, it's not ready.
So I will accept a motion to table it for another month.
So move.
Second?
And seconded. Any discussion on it?
Nope.
Seeing as there's none, all those in favor of tabling?
No, yes. No,
Yes.
no discussion.
3 in favor of tabling, yes. The next one we have is an act to approve and authorize the chair to sign a lease agreement for the Kevin P. Waters Memorial Flight Center between Knox County and Penobscot Island Air.
Move we table leases this one as well.
Okay,
Second?
and seconded. Any discussion on the tabling? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Third one is an act to select and maintain a multi-year engineer and planner for the Knox County Regional Airport for a term of 4 years. Would you be willing to discuss why there's a holdup on this?
Absolutely. Obviously, the proposals received on Friday, Thursday and Friday. The APAC met last night, and then you guys meet tonight. It just, the amount of information that was provided, the APAC wants more time. They want another week until March 20th to review and score the proposals. So they're able to actually get in and dig into the information and feel more comfortable about it. At that point, they may recommend interviews with the leading candidates, and then it would be ready for you guys on your April meeting. So that was the request. Just as you could see in the packets, there were 5 packets received, a lot of information to pour over in just a short amount of time. So that's the request.
Thank you.
There's also been some informal sentiment expressed that the contract, under the circumstances with the transition at the airport and transition at the county, that any change to that may be for 1 year initially, rather than 4 years. Again, that's an informal sentiment that's been expressed.
Is that something that the FAA would accept?
So I'll clarify a little bit. So yes, that's possible, but the 2025 master plan requires that the county go back out to bid again. So this selection would be for about a year, and then once the master plan is done, the FAA requires that you put it back out for selection again. So there would be a short period of time anyway built in. This is based on our multi-year is usually a 4-year contract, but where we have a master plan for 2025, it will require going back out again after that is complete anyway. So.
Can we structure it that way intentionally? As opposed to, it runs out because we no longer have the master plan, or should we think about structuring it so that it really runs concurrent with the review of the new master plan?
Yeah, this only came up because we intend to do a master plan update. Normally, master plan's a long-term document, and so this could have been structured that way, but if the county chooses not to do that master plan, then this contract would run through the full 4-year period. So.
But it's not ready for now anyhow, so we have another month.
Correct.
Thank you. Has it been moved to table?
So move.
Second?
Any other discussion on it? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor of tabling? 3 in favor, none opposed. The fourth one we have is an act to approve and sign the collective bargaining agreement between the County of Knox and the National Correction Employees Union for January 1st, 2024 to December 31st of 2024.
So move.
Been
Second.
moved
Second?
and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
Sure.
So traditionally, we do a 3-year contract. This is a 1-year extension. The intent from, at least our side, is the county was to allow us to get some staffing membership back within the National Corrections Employees Union. As you know, we were at approximately 50% staffing at one point last year. We have rebuilt that. We have only 3 vacancies currently, but many of those employees are still within the 6 months window of probationary status and are not able to provide their voice at the union level. So what this does, it allows us an opportunity to just address some of the issues like pay and benefits, but not get into some of the operational language until the membership has more of a voice. So this is a 1-year extension. We'll come back to the table this probably late summer to have full discussions with them to do a longer term contract after. But we are in agreement with everything. They agree with everything that we also offered, so that's good news.
Any discussion?
No.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. The fifth item we have here is an act to award the bid for the 2024 tax anticipation note.
So move.
Seconded?
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Kathy, would you
Would you like comment?
just be willing to make a comment on it?
Machias is the low bidder, and that's who we went with, and that is currently our bank. Out of the last 10 years, Machias has been the low bidder 6 out of the 10 years, so they've been awarded the TAN for that period of time. As far as interest rates, the next lowest was a 5.94, so they were substantially lower.
It does appear that that's the best of the offers we have, so yeah.
Yes.
Well, we should state the proper recipient of the award. So should we actually state Machias?
Yeah, this is a tax anticipation note, and this is if we have to borrow money,
Right.
waiting for the taxes to come in.
Right.
So we may not borrow the whole amount. We may not even, depending on how taxes come in, we might not even borrow off of it at all.
Right.
But it makes sense for us to have the lowest rate that we can have while we're
Okay.
borrowing.
It's highly unlikely we will not need to borrow. We were fortunate last year because we did have ARPA money that we had not expended that helped us to not need the TAM. I think that based on how the cash flow is now, we will probably need to tap in within the next 3 months. As far as the amount, it's hard to say if we'll have to reach that ceiling at any point. A lot of it depends on airport projects and what we have to pay out and when we get reimbursed for that, as far as that cash flow. But as soon as we have available cash flow, we pay it back as soon as we have availability. So our goal is, once we stop borrowing, is that we keep the least amount of money in our checking account as possible in order to reduce the TAM.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. That's all the action items we have on the agenda. We have some discussion items. One is the discussion of county property identified for potential sale. And I believe all of these properties that were identified were at the airport, if I remember correctly, or on airport property. And we have one that has been slowly working through, which is the one for, it's right off of Route 73, that we've been approached by the Coastal Children's Museum about purchasing. There's a few problems with this piece of property. I met with Jeremy and we talked about the deed, and there are restrictions on the deed that basically say it can only be used for a residential property. So I don't know if it dies right there, if we're not going to sell it to somebody who's going to build on it, or if somebody should be getting a lawyer to look at that and see if there's a way around that. I met with the Coastal Children's Museum people and said if they want to pursue it, they can. In the meantime, at Jeremy's urging, we should probably do something like get a valuation on this piece of property as a place to start and see how much it's worth. So that if we are going to put it out to bid, which would be the next step, would be to find out how much we're looking at for value. It's not a typical FAA piece of property in that we don't have to get that amount of money. We can sell it for more or less if we put it out to bid. We may look at it and say, oh, we really like the Children's Museum, we're willing to sell it to you for $1 or $2,000 or whatever the number is somewhere in there. We have that authority to do that if we wanted to go that route. There's a whole nother thing that we could do, which is, I think, getting back to your point, that some of that is wetland and we want to preserve that, is we potentially could just break out the piece of property that they're interested in, that they could build on, and sell them that and keep the rest of the property. Right, if we eventually down the road need a piece of property for mitigation, we would have it. And it would stay with us.
Presume we'd have to put restrictions on what they could do outside of their own property. In other words, we wouldn't allow trails across wetland because I'm sure that the EPA wouldn't allow that.
Well, I mean, if there was a way to have trails that fit within EPA, that would be a good thing. I mean, one of the points of the Children's Museum is to have things for kids to look at. And being able to look at a vernal pool would be a nice thing, whether it's a real trail or whether it's access. We might want to encourage that.
Don't know, I mean, I do know that the restriction on leaving vernal pools alone and staying away from them is quite restricted.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it
We'd
certainly,
have to
we
find
want
out.
to make sure we fit any EPA rules that are out there. Yeah. And I think part of that is if we're gonna sell this, just like there's a restriction on the deed now, we could put restrictions on the deed too, for what we want them to build. You know, I don't know that they're ready to build something unless they know that they're gonna have this piece of property and know that it's buildable. But we could certainly enter into some kind of a purchase and sales agreement where we know what we're gonna build, they're gonna build, and they know that they have access to that property if they raise enough money. I mean, so there's a number of things, but we could also go through the whole bid process, and somebody else may come forward and say, oh, we really like that piece of property too. But I think the first step would be getting a value on the piece of property. If that makes sense.
But you don't wanna pay more
Right,
to find out what it's worth than the property's worth.
right. At least we give somebody an idea what they should be bidding near. Do you have any input on how we would go about giving permission to get that piece of property value?
About getting permission?
Yeah, I mean, that it's gonna cost money for us to hire somebody.
Right.
Should we do that as an act, that we sit down and write an approval for us, or is there a mechanism within the county to just do it?
I mean, there are resources that give us an estimate of how much it might cost to get that information without having to spend that money, but ultimately, I guess it would be up to the commission to vote to expend that money based on whatever your budget would allow. Is there money in the budget for that purpose?
I guess I'm viewing that as any other airport expense, that we would hire the same appraiser that has been doing other properties for the airport. It's not project related, it's a departmental expense, so other than giving the go-ahead, I don't think there needs to be anything official to move forward with that.
How many acres are we talking about, John?
56.
Say again?
56 is the parcel currently.
They don't want 56 acres,
They don't. No, they want 4 to 5.
if that.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, do you want to get a measurement and a value on the total parcel or on a piece of the parcel?
I would think the total parcel. Just, I mean, so we have that in hand. Again, because most of it is gonna be wetlands and vernal pools, I think the value is only gonna be in that 4 or 5 acres anyhow. Or we could ask for both. Somebody could do that.
I want to ask Jeremy, any restrictions on filling the whole lot?
No.
No?
So the deed restriction also can be overcome by an heir releasing the deed restriction. So we've identified an heir, so that anything's possible. So
Were the deed restrictions put on, I haven't done the research, on by the heirs, or was it put on by MBNA when it gave it to the county?
it was put on by the landowners prior to the sale to MBNA.
Have they approached the Househead Planning Board yet? To just any preliminary kind of discussion of if we acquire this parcel, what can we do with it?
I don't believe so.
Can we just give you permission to go look at, hire a?
We have a consultant, and that's what they do. They've surveyed it. They've done the vernal pool survey, the boundary survey, the wetlands delineation. So yes, I can authorize the consultant to have one of the 2 appraisers come do an appraisal on the property.
I think that would be a good idea.
Yep.
Thank you. Other discussion items include a stamping discussion. wants to
Talk
lead
about
on
any
this?
particular department?
I mean, I can go around the room and start with the sheriff. Sheriff, how are we doing on staffing?
Quite well, actually. So within the law enforcement side of things, for all intents and purposes, we are fully staffed. We do have some unique positions, like a detail to the Maine Drug Enforcement Agency, and then a request by Vinyl Haven to try to staff with a second deputy. So those exist as kind of ancillary to the main group, but the main body of the law enforcement function is fully staffed, which has been a few years since that has happened, so that is an accomplishment there. Within corrections, same thing, we are currently sitting on only 3 vacancies, also with a host of per diem staff that are fully certified, working other places that are helping to augment overtime and mandates, which has made some significant improvements in morale. Just a completely different feel in the last month or so within the correctional facility, and just the fact that they're getting their actual days off has greatly improved things. We have a few applicants in the process for those final few positions, but as we've discussed before, I think we're always going to have a few positions kind of ebbing and flowing. So it wouldn't surprise me, because it is the largest of our departments at 40 staff members. We're probably going to see 1 or 2 positions open at any given time anyway. So I think that is great news. And if we get into dispatch, which I'll let Bob talk more about, but dispatch we are improved as well. So if you want to talk about the staffing specifically.
Our current staffing is we're down 3 line dispatchers and 1 supervisor. So as far as the line dispatchers, that's the fullest we've been in a long time. With that being said, it puts us in line for the return of 911 to the county. We've got that set up for, hopefully, if everything stays in line, for a May 1st return. So we're going forward. Things with the unions, we've started having communications with them. As soon as we can get some things finalized up with them, I think it will also help with the hiring process, and because we'll have more things in line to offer and not bits and pieces here and there. It will just be, here's the offer. So
just one of the things that I know has come up recently for discussion, at least based off some of the community sentiment in the newspapers. We did create a plan with the PUC, or the Public Utilities Commission, back in October. They accepted our plan. Part of that plan was 5 milestones around staffing, education, leadership development, those things. We have met every single one of those milestones, either on time or ahead of time. And this is an example of that. We weren't really going to hit the milestone of returning the PSAP to full operations. The expectation of the plan was June. We'd be a month ahead of that plan. So I just think it's important to highlight that with you folks, that we have been on track. We have met everything that the PUC has required us to meet as far as the PSAP and the E911 is concerned. I think it's important for you guys to know.
And we've got our bullet points from the ESCB PCU to get it back, and all the bullet points that they are requesting us to have in place have either been accomplished or will be accomplished before the May 1st deadline. So we'll be submitting that letter to them for bringing it back. So everything's falling in line as it should to bring it back to Lawrence County.
Great. Thank you.
I'm pleased that the sheriff has shot the elephant in the room, because we know what the recent press has been and the most recent past information. The current status of the KRCC and the progress made to date would belie the need for any other agency to pick up where Knox County leaves off. So the most recent article about the city of Rockland absorbing the program may be for naught, because the county has not really truly weighed in on it in any official manner. The county received today a letter from the city of Rockland expressing in writing their interest in their term absorbing the RCC. But in my view, again, being a new guy looking in from outside for a long time, this has to be a conversation within the body of the Knox County Commission. We know that the commission chair has been very actively involved in trying to calm the waters, but at this point now, I think it's got to go to the body. The three of you need to start deliberation and talking about how this might happen, if it happens, and whether or not the county actually has an appetite to go forward with this. So, but I think, again, in my observation and talking to the different players, with the report that the sheriff just made, progress has been made, great progress has been made. It's not there yet, but you know, if any organization gets to a point where they say, we're perfect and we don't need to improve any further, that's a situation that you don't want to be in either. So there's been that ongoing effort to fix it. And, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't continue to move in that direction.
The interim administrator and I have had some conversations. I feel that he's uniquely poised with his community history to be able to take this on and tackle it specifically as the interim administrator. I know there was some discussion prior to him coming on that do we let that person take things on, or they kind of just hold the position until we figure out hiring somebody else. But I personally feel that to help this continue to be successful, having him be that point person as it was supposed to be aligned, even though he's interim, is probably the best choice.
I agree with that sentiment. I know Ed has been involved in all of the discussions, so I'd like to hear from him at some point. I know Gordon has stepped in those discussions with the executive committee and so forth. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity to move forward. I'd like to, with the plan, this plan that you're referring to, it's quite detailed. The plan set up with the PUC to bring back our PSAP status. I'd like to commend all those involved and the sheriff for taking the lead in meeting these points. And as I read through it, we're ahead of some of those points. And it sounds like we're well on track to regain and bring back in-house the PSAP center, which at this point in time, given a lot of things going on, seems to make the most sense. I understand, and I've read all of the articles. Rockland's going to absorb the Knox County Dispatch, and then the subsequent letter from Tom Luttrell, the city manager of Rockland. I respect their interests in furthering these discussions. I think it's a very good idea, but I also would like to suggest that we work together and follow through in a fashion so that we're just getting stability back in our department and confidence with our dispatchers and all of the work that has gone into this with IT and everything else. I'd like to suggest to see if there's a way to move forward on completing our plan with the PUC, bring the PSAP back in-house, quell some of this, start talking with Rockland if that's who wants to have this discussion, and any other towns that would like to have this discussion with us. We're not saying that the best way is to have it all in-house. We're saying, I think right now, let's get it back in-house. Let's move forward together in these discussions and come to some solution that will work for everybody moving forward. But it's upsetting to see all of these different things coming out in the press, because it really creates a lot of nervousness in our staff. I know Gordon has received emails and people are asking, what are we doing? So I also support, if Gordon is willing to step into that. Sheriff, you've carried this for such a long time and so well, and you have other jobs. I would, if my fellow commissioners and Gordon is agreeable, I'd like to see him transition over to the point person to bring this along, to bring it back in, and then continue these discussions jointly with the commissioners all together on having this discussion, along with the towns and moving forward in that. That's what I would like to see happen. I'd like to hear from Ed and Rick, who on their thoughts?
Rick?
Yeah, I certainly think that we've done a whole lot of work here in the last few months, putting this center back together. And I think that right now, we're probably much more equipped to take it back and open it up again full service than any other entity could possibly do within the next year. So I would think that it would behoove anyone to challenge our status. No, to not challenge our status.
What I would like to do, to start off with, is I think we need to sit down with our attorney and figure out what the legal ramifications are. So we might want to schedule a meeting next week, if we could, with the attorney. It might be an executive session because we're talking about contracts. The way it's set up, and thanks to Candace for passing all this information on, is every town in Knox County has a contract with the county to provide this service. We are not like a separate entity that can say, oh, all of our contracts are null and void and we're giving it to Rockland. We can't do that. So there's a long process to get to the point where if these towns want to sign on with Rockland, even if we say, yes, Rockland is better at administering it than we are, we could turn to Rockland and say, here, but they can't do anything with all of these towns answering their phone unless we negotiate with the towns to give them their contracts. So there's going to be a long legal problem to get to that point. I think we need to sit down with our attorney and see if there's a path forward, if that's really what we want to do. I will get back to what you've been saying, is this has been a long process to get us where we are, that we have all these employees, and this is thanks to everybody who's been working on it, to Bob and the sheriff and now Gordon and Amber and Zach. I mean, the number goes on and on. Kathy, everybody, Candace have been working on this as a project. The question is, do we want to keep spending that much manpower keeping it going forward if Rockland can do it? I don't know the answer. It's for all of us to decide, but I think we need to sit down with our attorney and see what the legal things are if we decide we want to move ahead. Yes, I think we also, in talking to the PUC, they wanted to see us, they don't want to see any change in the operation until after we get the PSAP back. Nothing's going to happen before that. But that doesn't mean that the process isn't going to be working towards it. We have two tracks we're working on. One is we want to make sure that what we're doing is getting better, and it has been, and we want to keep working on it. We want to get the PSAP back on our end. But there's also the possibility that even if that's in place, that the management of the department by the city of Rockland makes more sense than the management by the county. Those are things we have to discuss. I don't know the answer to that. And I think we have to have a series. The letter that we got from the city manager basically says, we'd like to keep the discussion going. And I think we want to keep the discussion going. The discussion doesn't mean we know where we're going to end up. But I think we need to have one of the problems, and this is probably the biggest problem, we've been through this since the beginning, is perception. You talk about the press, but it's not just the press. They're getting their information from someplace. And there are people who are on the outside who perceive that it's a failure. And I don't know that we can ever turn their perceptions around, no matter what we do. And it may be that we need to make a clean break of it just so that they can sit down and say, there, we're going to start all over again with something new. I don't know the answer to that.
Well, I think that, yeah, I appreciate all you're saying. I also think that there's some of the confusion and it is coming from our end as well, because there is uncertainty and conflicting information, maybe because we can't all meet together except in a single meeting. So they're gonna hear, maybe they hear something from you, or me, or Gordon, or Rick, or something. So I think that it's external, looking in, commenting, making, opinions and saying whatever. But then there's confusion on, that also contributes to that from our apparent lack of communication or decisive movement. So I think that I agree, Ed, with you, and that we do want to encourage discussions moving forward. Absolutely, with Rockland in this case, and any other towns. We're not saying this is the best way, that having Knox County have it is the best way. What I'm saying, and what I think, is that at this point, and I think you said it as well, we're on a track to get our PSAP back. There's been much, much hard work to bring it back in. So get it back in-house. Let's reassure our dispatchers, some of whom are very new, some of whom came back specifically to work for the county right now, and for let's one step at a time. Get it back, stabilize it. Let Gordon run it through for some period of time while we continue and have the discussions with Rockland and our attorney and anybody else, all the other towns, and what are the implications, what are the ramifications, what can and can't we do. But if we can all get on same page moving forward, I think it would be much more productive and end in a much better result for everybody.
I think we are on the same page in terms of, we want to keep moving ahead. That part, we all agree. We're not all of a sudden going to say, oh, well, we're going to drag our feet because somebody else can do it. No, not at all. I mean, again, I think we've been doing an incredibly good job, as you say, as the sheriff knows better than anybody else, this is going on at every dispatch center in the state. This is nothing abnormal. And the fact that we're able to move where we are and how we've been able to move where we are is a testament to their hard work, and also to their skill, because this is going to be used as a model for what other towns or other dispatch centers in the state do. So I think that's an important part of it. Yeah, sure.
You led into exactly what I was going to say. So I sit on the State E911 Council, which has representatives from several different disciplines throughout the state. And one of the things that the PUC specifically in that council were tasked with was creating a report of what's going on within our PSAPs. Why are we having these near failures? Why are these centers talking about collapsing or shutting down, or these other things? There's a report. It's probably still being presented by Maria Jakes. She's the director of the PUC. She's reporting out to the Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology. She started that at 1 o'clock today. That is a very robust report that talks about all the exact same challenges that we have had as a dispatch center. And it is literally throughout every center across the state. I mean, even the state of Maine, with the centers they have, are unable to keep up with some of these things. That's kind of the point, is we need as many collaborative partners at the table as possible. The PUC, the towns, other counties, other PSAP centers, because that's the only way we're going to get through it, is for all of us to work collaboratively, not in opposite directions.
I will say that I have, with you, have met with the PUC a number of times now, and I'm very impressed with them. They know their stuff. The people who are on that board are not like, oh, we're just regulators. No, they're regulators who care about what they're doing and want to make sure this works. And I think they've been very good and encouraging, too. Yes.
Well, when you speak about individuals that want to do a good job, I haven't been able to observe anybody or any situation in the county where it's an ego thing and the county wants to protect its turf. The dispatch staff, those individual employees of the county that catch those calls and dispatch out the cavalry to our rescue, they're in it for the right reason. Despite the fact that there may be some internal politics and disgruntlement because of lack of communication over a lengthy period of time. There are none of those individuals that don't want to do a good job for the citizens. The unfortunate situation is this letter is indicative of it. There are some individuals that are not employees of the county that have appeared to make a unilateral decision that this is what's going to happen. When in fact it may happen, but there's a lot of steps in between. So it hasn't served the community well that it almost looks like there's a group out there freelancing, this is how we're going to make this happen. We don't want it to be a hostile takeover. If it's going to happen, it needs to be done smoothly and efficiently, and again, for the right reasons. So all it's done, though, is it's created hate and discontent internally. There are people upset because they're learning about stuff through the press, and that negative drip, drip, drip of information, it doesn't serve us well. So I think the county, and we talked about this morning in the staff meeting, the county needs to do a better job to communicate the positives and to keep these individuals informed. But we can't tell them what Rockland is planning to do. That's up to Rockland to do that. And in some instances, Rockland, people from the city of Rockland staff have actually reached out to individuals that are Knox County employees, just arbitrarily making phone calls and saying, here's how it's going to go. Well, we don't know that. They seem to know it, and they're sharing it with our employees, and it's creating displeasure and confusion. So it's no wonder that our staff, our employees, are up in arms, wondering what the hell is going on. So we need to do a better job of controlling the message.
Would it be appropriate, thank you, Gloria, would it be appropriate to that point and putting better communications and some positive information out there, would it be appropriate for me to take a moment and read the letter that you wrote? You sent it to the press, I believe, but you also sent it to all of our staff.
Sure.
Would it be
I
appropriate?
defer to the chair, right?
Chair, would you mind if I read his
No,
letter?
if you
Okay.
think it's appropriate, sure.
Well, I think it is, because it kind of brings it all together in a way and shows the importance of communication that's positive and also accurate. Much has been written in the past several months about challenges faced by Knox County government, from the issue related to the Knox Regional Communications Center to the sudden departure of the former longtime county administrator. It is reasonable to expect that taxpayers would wonder what's going on. I hope the following will answer some questions and provide a better understanding of the current situation. Like many organizations managing change or transition, any company or business, the bigger story goes untold. For Knox County, that story is one that should highlight the merits of the dedicated public service employees who work every day to serve those of us who live here. Those employees include the caring women and men who staff the phones and radios inside the KRCC. These are the people, our friends and neighbors, who are there for us when we need emergency services and who send the first responders to our rescue. In spite of recent reports about that department, the fact remains that those emergency communications professionals and their supervisory staff, with support from Waldo County for several more weeks, continue to handle the critical task of coordinating the quick and efficient responses of a score of fire, EMS, and law enforcement agencies throughout the county. Together with our municipal partners and other stakeholders, the county is exploring whether or not the current KRCC model is the best model. At the same time, one municipality is proactively investigating the prospect of opening its own PSAP and what that would look like. As we move forward and when firm plans are in place, more information will be shared. To dribble bits and pieces of speculative and evolving data prematurely would be irresponsible. In the meantime, the county's plan for improvement and ultimate restoration of a virtually integrated PSAP is being reviewed by the Maine Emergency Services Communication Bureau, a division of Maine's PUC, which has oversight of the 24 PSAP operations throughout the state. There are many other fine people who are employed by Knox County, the vast majority of whom the average citizen may never get the chance to meet or interact with. The various departments are staffed by well-trained and seasoned workers who go to work every day on our behalf. These include our sheriff's deputies who patrol our rural roadways, the corrections officers who oversee our jail population, the folks who keep our airport running smoothly, and the emergency management agency staff who prepare for, monitor, and react to both natural and man-made disasters. The folks who work at the courthouse handling deeds, probate, and prosecution of criminal acts, and who handle other legal matters, and those in administration, finance, information technology, and facility management. Each of these individuals are worthy of our recognition and appreciation. Although my assignment with the county is temporary, I will do my best during my time in this role to work closely with the elected county commissioners and senior staff to ensure that Knox County residents continue to receive the highest levels of service possible for their tax investment. Thank you for writing this. Thank you for distributing it. I hope that this can be the start of more positive communications between all of us and our taxpayers and our citizens and all of our municipalities and everybody out there. Thank you, Ed, for giving me the time to read that.
Thank you. My first question, Gordon, who wrote that for you?
Thank you for your confidence.
It's so well written. Thank you.
So I just want to highlight two partners in that. I know we talk about Waldo often, but we have a contract is what we usually talk about. What we don't talk about is Waldo has been in a very similar position in the opposite, and we've provided support in return for them. And that, I guess, is kind of my point, is even though, yes, there's a monetary contract, they still want to be good partners because they know they could be in the same boat at any given moment. And then Department of Public Safety, the dispatch centers there, the director of those centers has also been a silent partner. There's still work that they do on occasion with us or for us. It goes unheard a lot of the times because it's usually through the form of some, as we call it, a teletype communication. But they also have been, you know, kind of the behind-the-scenes partner that isn't charging any more money necessarily. But again, it's because they also are in a similar boat, and the more they can help to keep us afloat, the more it's going to pay off for all of us in the long run. So just want to say thank you to those two groups as well.
Anything else, Rick? Would we be willing to have a meeting with their attorney next week? Let's see if we can discuss the legal parts of this, Bill?
Yes. Can we also talk about the transition, if this is an appropriate venue to do it in, perhaps what the sheriff suggested and Gordon is willing to do to relieve the sheriff of the extra dispatch.
I think that's purely administrative at this point. That if Gordon thinks he can take over that role, he is the administrator, and that's the appropriate for him to just to tell the sheriff to stand down.
Well, he's not going to be entirely off the hook, because he'll be utilizing him and a number of other people as resources. It's important to have some consistency and continuity, so.
And they've learned an awful lot. I mean, this is not, for anybody who's been involved, this is not their normal field of endeavor. And to master what they have over the last few months took a lot of extra work. And we don't want to just throw that away, the fact that they now know so much and know the right people. We want to make sure that everybody stays in touch and is still involved. But we just won't lean on quite so heavily.
I will be a great partner, yes.
I mean, you know, Zach has learned stuff he wasn't planning on learning.
Yes.
So that was kind of an informal change of command.
Sir? Yeah. Any more discussion on this? This is staffing.
Yep.
Staffing, Candace. Were we looking at another person for your department?
My fourth position that used to be grant funded and no longer is, got approved in the budget as a 20-hour position, which has meant that I need to adjust the job description for that position because it's not going to be as many hours. So I am in the process of changing that job description. I envision this person doing more of the exercises with the towns, helping them with their emergency plans and things like that. So more of the upper level organizational and the complicated stuff, really. So we just have to get the ad out for that. But we've all been dealing with dispatch and other things that have taken up our time, so that's kind of sat to the side. But we'll get there.
Any other staffing issues to bring up?
Other departments that want to weigh in on their perceived needs? Well, I'm looking at IT right now.
I'm all good for
You are.
now. Not much to say. Nothing will get resolved in the near future.
Amber, can you speak to the current progress in finding an administrative assistant for the airport, please?
Yes, we held interviews about 2 weeks ago and oral boards this week, and we found somebody we're going to move forward with. So as soon as I get her background waiver, we'll make that offer. She can start within 5 business days of that offer. So we should have somebody in, if all goes well, early next week, which will provide time for them to work with Jeremy a bit before this transition.
And then with the airport manager, in his pending departure, everybody goes at some point, right? County has been in touch with an individual who has expressed willingness and availability to serve in an interim, very short-term interim role, hopefully not more than a few weeks while the county continues to search for an airport manager. This individual has great experience physically on site and has a good relationship and rapport with those that he would need to work with.
But we do have some applications for a manager at this point who look promising.
Yes, we're actively interviewing and going through that process, and I'm expediting it as much as possible.
And one other position that has yet to be filled is that of county administrator. And my understanding is you all met and decided we need to broaden the search for candidates.
Yes.
And so therefore we're hiring a company to help us.
I engaged with them this morning, so the first step would be a kickoff call with that hiring committee to find out all the ins and outs of the description and what we're really looking for, and they'll do a bulk of the work. They have many more job boards and just networking opportunities that we just don't have the bandwidth to accomplish, and at that high level position we feel it would be best to expand that search. So
One question I have regarding an interim position for the airport manager. The charter requires advice and consent from the commission to hire a department head. Is that so also for the interim department head? And if so, I'd like to ask your blessing for us to move forward with this.
Yeah, I don't think the charter covers that, and there's probably no legal precedent we can look at. Probably nobody's sued over that one way or the other. I think just letting us know is probably enough. Yeah, I don't think we're looking at hiring somebody. I mean, if interim meant 6 months, maybe we'd be talking about that.
No, ideally, certainly fewer than 6 months. But
I think one of the problems we're going to have, it sounds like, with both the airport and with the county administrator is, like everybody else, is housing. So maybe we can find a floor in the courthouse to house people. Because, I mean, people are going to be moving here. If we're broadening the search for an administrator, it means we're looking well out of state.
well, I couldn't help but notice as a layman, and for the first time touring the courthouse several weeks ago now, that there's a lot of big offices, and I think there's plenty of room internally to combine offices and squeeze people in and create some congregate housing, create a revenue generation for the county.
Yeah, people really want to live in the courthouse. Yeah. We should never have knocked down the jail.
They live not far away.
Any other discussion on staffing before we move on? No. The last discussion item we have here is our per diem policy. Anybody wish to discuss that?
I can do that. So back in August, we brought forward what we felt was a pretty outdated per diem policy, and a quick refresher. Basically, if you're a per diem employee, you start at step 1 and stay there. Which didn't help attract for getting that help that we needed. Going through the emergency staffing crises we had last year with corrections and communications, we really needed those per diem employees. So before we put the ad out, we went to the commission and approved that they would follow the county's position classification and salary administration policy to count years of experience. So that's been updated since, which has been great. During the emergency per diem hiring time, they received a specific emergency rate to help us in our dire need. There were some restrictions with corrections specifically where you had to be certified and maintain that certification, etc. Given that the per diem employees are really supporting our public safety departments, we feel that that should probably mirror how we're hiring for public safety employees. So matching year for year experience as opposed to taking the years and cutting it in half is kind of what it's following right now. And that'll just help, to the sheriff's point, help keep, having people have their days off and covering vacations and just keep things running smoothly. So we're removing the emergency per diem rate as of April 1st, so everybody will be provided their new rate. Before we did that, we wanted to have a discussion with the commission to see if we'd be open to mirroring that public safety one-for-one matching. Kind of jumped all around, so I can clarify anything.
Just to add to it, it also, from my perspective, or at least the public safety perspective, is individuals who come with that experience and those certifications are getting paid well at their current employment. And to be asked to come here and serve at a rate that is for an entry-level employee, the only thought that comes to mind is a slap in the face, even though it's not what I mean, but it's, why take less pay for my knowledge and experience? And if we can provide comparable pay to those individuals, if I have my days off, I may be willing to work at another agency because it's a little bit of a change of pace, as long as you give me a rate that's comparable. And being able to get those individuals who are certified also reduces our liability. They require less training, they require, bring less liability because they have some knowledge base to make informed decisions, compared to hiring new people who take some considerable time and money to train.
Question, just for my own benefit. Is this intended to create parity of their full-time employment wage to the county, or something close to it?
The intent is something close to. We're not trying to, as I mentioned in the previous meeting with the commissioners, I brought up that we're not looking to necessarily poach from other agencies. It's a term that within public safety has been used. You're poaching from us. But that's not the intent. The intent is to be able to utilize their person, that when our staff is unable to work or don't want to work, they want to have their days off, being able to bring in individuals who are well-trained, well-qualified to supplement them, but not replace them.
For example, if they're making $47 an hour in Gardner, Maine, PD, they're not necessarily going to come here for 47. It's going to be somewhere.
It's wherever our pay scale would put them. So the individual had 10 years experience, they'd fall in our 10-year step. But one of the things that has come up from the commission is, would that have a consequence on the unions? No, in my opinion, because they're being given first refusal to the opportunity to work. This is only in the cases where nobody in our current staff chooses to work. This gives us an alternative versus having to mandate staff to work.
What kind of lead time?
Most have been able to work within a few hours in some cases. Usually a few days' notice is all that's needed.
We've got one actually in dispatch that's been probably, I'm going to say it as a saving grace for us to have. She's actually the secretary down at Rockland PD, but she's a former dispatcher, and she's been a saving grace. So she filled in a lot on weekends, actually, so that I didn't have to work weekends, so that we could start freeing things up, and she's always been willing to come in whenever needed. She's come in before going to Rockland PD, so it benefits this department out of all of them, having some per diem people if we can get them on board.
My question is, so this is a change in the policy in terms of how we calculate how much they get paid. The net effect is an increase or a decrease over the emergency rate, and how much?
It would be a decrease. And it would depend on the individual, really their years of experience, but it would be a decrease regardless. I don't think any of our, none of ours. And it would be for those 3 public safety departments. If patrol ever needed it, communications and corrections. I know we have per diem for, food service, and we have per diem. I don't think they necessarily qualify for, matching what those public safety employees would get to the sheriff's point, so.
And we're also talking about looking at pay scales in general in terms of how the steps work and who gets what and how it's reorganized based on years of service versus changing jobs and starting from scratch. So this is also almost just a temporary fill-in until we get to that stage too.
In a way, yes. I think the per diem employees will fall within kind of whatever policy we recreate. But before they were such a special exception, and in my opinion, I don't think we took care of them based on their skill sets and what they were helping us actually accomplish in the county. So I think that last change was really necessary. And even if we made this small change now, it'd still follow what the union, is doing, and they would, just kind of be integrated. I don't think it would be another huge change specific for the per diem, if that's kind of what you mean.
Other discussion, other questions?
On that?
Yeah.
No.
I just, from an employee standpoint, if I'm working per diem and I've been getting a certain amount and now the county's changing that because it's no longer an emergency, am I still gonna keep working for the county knowing I'm gonna get less?
Right, that's
And-
good.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, that's part of why we're asking for this, is because that less is significantly less. I mean, it's our entry-level pay. And some of these individuals have got 10 and 15 years of experience in the field, and you can't make up for that difference. So the ability to get them closer to what their pay at their other organization is, to me, is a benefit. And in talking with many of them, they'd be willing to stay per diem if they were able to get closer to what their current salary is.
Does this require any action from us, or is this just something we can give you the nod and say, yes, change the policy?
Well, I think ultimately you've got to make the decision.
It's your policy
Right.
change.
This is more of a discussion, are we on the right track, and do you want us to bring it to you?
Yes.
So,
Whatever you think is best.
So do we have anything
Forward. Yeah.
drafted
I
yet?
think it needs to be a, more than a discussion, I think it needs to be a vote, because we're actually changing a policy, and we're acting on that policy based on today's meeting.
Do you have something already drafted for them to vote on?
I do, but it's not ready for them to see yet. But if we needed to meet again this month for airport matters, or even in April, I think we'll definitely have to do by then.
Does that give you guys enough leeway, time?
Then bring something forward and we'll look at it. Anything else? What else do you have?
Other business?
Other business?
Couple things. This is, I believe, Jeremy's last meeting that he'll be attending. Is that correct? He'll be leaving us soon?
Very soon, yeah, but we should have one more meeting. It'll be an unscheduled meeting if we can work out the PIA stuff. And, but yes, this is the last regular scheduled meeting.
Well, I've worked with you for a number of years, and I know you have been very dedicated to the airport projects and the vision of how, for the future for it, especially when it comes to the electric aircraft and the vehicle charging and the future of that, the solar, you know, the hangar, working all the work and just making our airport that much better and moving and looking forward to the future. So I'd just like to say thank you for that, and I wish you all the best in the future.
Anything else?
One more thing you had asked me to do, and I
Oh,
really
yeah,
here. Yeah,
please.
I'll just give you a quick update on the conference I attended in DC last month. It's annual every year. It's the National Association of Counties. It's an organization run out of DC to help strengthen, and it works with, there's about 3,069 counties in the country. And it's the huge body, and the responsibilities of commissioners range from everything from what we do here to roads, schools, hospitals. You know, they are the law enforcement, or they pretty much run everything. So they convene once every year in DC, an opportunity for us to talk with other commissioners from other areas, see what they're doing, ways in which that we could collaborate or get ideas. It's also an opportunity for us to get in front of our legislature, our elected officials, and an opportunity for us to interface as they bring in all of the top cabinet members and department heads, and the president comes in and speaks as well, recognizing the important role that counties do play. And some of the things in this conference, and I'll share out, are things like FEMA, and grant programs, and for and other opportunities, because all the departments are there, all those bodies are there. Sessions such as in Grants and Earmarks 101, how can we work better to secure grants for all of our different departments? How do we collaborate more on to get those federal grants and so forth? To how do we you know, the opioid distribution and ways in which to work with that within our communities. Another big topic was the IMD exclusion and the Medicare, and the sheriff can speak to this a little bit more about the Medicare. Our inmates lose Medicare coverage, right, as soon as
become
they're
incarcerated, they lose their Medicare. There's
And
an
that-
opportunity to get it back when they return to society, but while incarcerated, they lose it, and the state actually passed a law, but we've been asked for a waiver specifically for us to then continue it so it doesn't fall on the taxpayer, property taxpayer, to pay those medical expenses.
because right now, once they lose it, then we pick it up through our coverage, and the state is pushing down more and more, certainly in this state, mandates, particularly as it surrounds MAT, medically assisted treatment. Is that the acronym? Yes. And things that we must do. So that was a really big topic that NACO as a body, they have an executive director, they have other lobbyists and so forth. They lobby the legislators and the people on the Hill about issues that are really important to counties and impact us. So they kind of are a voice at that federal level. And in fact, they were responsible for the successful lobbying to distribute the ARPA funds that we received directly to the county. So, because initially they wanted to distribute that to the state for, but that didn't happen. So, those are some of the programs we attend. There's 10 or 15 different programs every day, and then I go to the ones that are particularly pertinent to our county. There was a very interesting session on something that is coming down the road, but it's not here yet, necessarily impacting us, AI, and the way it's being utilized now in other counties. And I had an interesting conversation with one of our other counties in Maine who actually employed some AI with the assistance of, I think, Amazon Web Services to put it into their dispatch so that to help field calls. And Zach, I don't know if you have heard of this, but they used it, they put it in place to field calls to determine which are emergency and which are, you know, my car is broken down or there's a cat in the road or whatever it might be. They rolled that out. Unfortunately, they didn't necessarily, they could, I guess they needed a little more PR before it hit the paper. And it was, they needed to get a little more education on who's answering the calls and how is that all working. But that's one of our counties here in Maine. And so we had, representatives came from, not that they don't have their own vested interest. Microsoft was there to talk about how they wanted to collaborate with everybody. And Salesforce was there as well to talk about they want to be our partners. But AI is coming, and it's being utilized in a number of ways in other counties as well to process paperwork or fill out building permits or whatever it is. There's all kinds of opportunity. That is also, there's opportunity, but there's also opportunity for misuse. So there were a lot of discussions on how to put guardrails in, how to rein it in so that it's working for you, not being used in ways that are not to anybody's best interest. So that was a really big session there. And so basically, those are the kind of things that went on. That's about it. So what else? Oh, and then the last thing is I'll say it's also, they have a day where you can go talk to every single federal agency out there. And, we talked to NASA about some airport stuff. They didn't know what we were doing, but now they do. But talked to FEMA, and I gave Candace some things. I have some stuff for the sheriff, but everybody's there. Defense, FTC, housing. Housing was a big topic overall in the whole conference. Housing is a huge issue all around the country, and Airbnb was oh so graciously there to talk about how they would like to help us with that. So anyway, overall, I can answer any questions, but it's paid for by the MCCA, which is the Maine body. So Maine has 2 representatives that go to the national convention. That would be me at this point, and Peter Baldacci up from Penobscot County are the 2 representatives that go. Although anybody can attend, but there's only 2 paid spots for that. But so that's it. Thanks. That's all I have.
Sure.
Maine Sheriffs have an annual conference. This year it'll be hosted at the Samoset on the 20th and 21st of this month. Our main topic is called Extreme Ownership, which is a leadership presentation put on by Echelon Front. They're a nationally renowned leadership company. But we also conduct our annual business there as well. But 3 of you are welcome to pop in if you want a tour. We have over 180 attendees from all over New England, which includes chiefs, sheriffs, and the like. There's also been an offer to all the counties. It wasn't just a law enforcement option this time because it is kind of a general leadership. We did make the offer to all municipalities and county entities as well as state. So if any of the 3 of you would like to attend, just text me, let me know you're in the area, you want to take a walk through, I'll bring you through, kind of show you what we do at our conference. So it's the first one we've had since COVID. So,
What are the dates again, please?
20th and 21st.
And that's at the Samoset, right?
You couldn't meet in Florida or someplace good? I mean,
It is the Maine Sheriff's Conference.
I used to try to get the Maine Harbor Masters Association to meet in Hawaii. What? Anything else?
Will we adjourn?
Mr. Chair, before that occurs, there are warrants and other documents that need to be signed. Do you want to sign those before you adjourn or after?
After we adjourn.
Will we adjourn?
It's been moved.
Second?
Seconded. Any discussion? Just a discussion on a meeting, if we can schedule a meeting whenever the attorney is available next week, that'd be good.
They were talking about Attorney Marchese.
Yep. And Jeremy, when do you think you'll have some of those contracts ready? Not till next?
They've been in legal for a while now, so as soon as the new owner, PIA, and Mr. Marchese have been back and forth, but there's been no resolution yet. So I think if you have a meeting with him, he may be able to shed some light on that.
But so we will be having a meeting next week, hopefully, and we can find out more.
Great.
And Jeremy, on those contracts, those names will be changed?
Yes.
All those in favor of adjournment? 3 in favor, none opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, right?